Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Ranked number 1 in innovation 10 consecutive years, Arizona State University isn't just ahead of the curve. It's creating new paths to success. Learn from notable clinical and research faculty. Online, that's a degree better. Explore programs at asuonline.asu.edu. At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked number 1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and number 2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve. It's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
I walk a straight line, shackled and chained. Oh, gruesome Gertie is calling my name. There is no mercy in this penitentiary. Just ask the Hill String Gang or Angola 3. Die inside these walls, inside the wire. And when the wolf cries, I know it's over. Oh, bloody Angola. Oh, bloody Angola.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bloody Angola, a podcast 142 years in the making, the complete story of America's bloodiest prison. I'm Jim Chapman, and I got something a little bit different for you today. Of course, we brought you several episodes on the escapes out of New Orleans, where 10 individuals escaped from Orleans Parish Jail. And I was honored to go on a podcast with Kieran Chawla. Her podcast is called Louisiana Unfiltered. And we discussed up to the second details on the 2 remaining escapees who have yet to be caught. It was a really informative discussion with myself and Kieran, who is an Emmy Award-winning investigative journalist here in South Louisiana. So here it is, that interview in full with Louisiana Unfiltered's Kieran Chawla.
It's a story that originated right here in our backyard and has now garnered national attention. A prison escape. But it's not just one inmate. Instead, it's 10 inmates, all escaping at one time. 2 of them remain on the run. And I'll even say one of them is almost teasing law enforcement by posting pictures and videos to social media. How were 10 people able to escape the parish prison in Orleans Parish? We're going to delve into that. We're also going to break down how they initially thought it was 11 inmates who escaped. I'm Kieran Chawla, and this is Louisiana Unfiltered. Welcome back, everyone. This week we are joined by my fellow podcaster and friend, producer as well of multiple podcasts. We're going to say exposed for now, but he's got several podcasts as well. Jim Chapman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk today.
Where do we start, Jim? I feel like we almost need to start with how does this even happen? 10 people at one time?
Yeah, that's the question. And as much as you and I would love the answer to that question, it seems like the entire country wants the answer to that question. As you said in your intro, this has become national news.
Absolutely.
Especially considering they have not all been caught yet.
Yeah. And in fact, Jim, I'll even tell you a personal story. Obviously, we're Baton Rouge based. And in the beginning, when all this happened, we did not cover it. It's New Orleans. But the day that they discovered it happened, News Nation texted and said, "Are you covering this?"
Yeah.
It made national news immediately. There was no, let's wait till the following week. The same day. Obviously, we're talking about it now because, it's been 3 weeks and you still have inmates who are on the run.
Still on the run. And, when this first hit the news, it was not just the Orleans Parish Sheriff coming out and holding a press conference. The governor came out. The Attorney General, Liz Muriel, came out with a press conference. This was a big deal. Mm-hmm. These were not people that were arrested for jaywalking, busting out of city jail. This was people for murder. Suspicion of murder, rape. There was a lot of accusations involved. And as you mentioned in the intro, initially, they weren't even sure how many got out.
That just baffles me. How do you not know? And I understand. We're going to break all this down, Jim, but I understand that in today's day and age, a lot of parish prisons, and obviously we're parishes here in Louisiana, but county jails and prisons across the country, they're all struggling with a lack of money to update the prisons. And when I say update, I don't mean just have enough for the capacity. I mean for the infrastructure to be improved.
Yes.
I feel like that's half the problem. But staffing-wise, how do you miscount?
Yeah, and there was a lot that went wrong here that we're discovering. And you're absolutely correct. Budget concerns are a concern. The last thing any citizen wants to pay for is prisons. Last thing they want to pay for, because you're paying tax dollars for someone that broke the law and they get thrown in prison. They're convicted of awful crimes, and you don't want to have to pay for that.
Nope.
Something that you have to do as a society is keep up your prisons because things like this can happen. So initially, when this happened, it made all the news, and it was 11 people that escaped. Then they discovered that one person was actually moved to another part of the prison and did not escape.
It's embarrassing. It really is. We all know the history of NOPD, and I personally feel, and again, this is completely Kieran Charles' opinion, not a fact, that the reason the governor got involved, the reason the attorney general got involved is because how do we put makeup on this black guy?
Yeah. And
we have to hurry up and get a hold of it.
A quick catch up on exactly how this happened. Initially, these convicts escaped jail. They went through a hole they actually pulled the back of a toilet off, made a hole, went through that, went over a gate. They were able to get out of their cells because the locks there were so antiquated. They were able to bust the locks in one way or another. Now, they did have some help on the inside. They arrested an individual allegedly who helped them. And this individual was supposedly threatened. They were going to shank him if he did not turn the water off. He was not a correctional officer. He was a guy that worked maintenance at the prison. And he turned the water off, and that enabled them to make their escape. This was planned. This was not something on the spur of a moment.
Exactly.
In the video, when you watch the video, you see these guys just tugging on these gates and busting locks, and Yeah, that's a budget problem. But the other problem was, as you just mentioned, the count. They were on the loose for like hours before they even realized it.
And that's a long time.
That's a major issue. Yeah, that's a long time. You can get a long way in hours.
Yeah.
Which is what they were discovering.
Yep.
A lot of these had made it a long way. A few of them they were able to catch. A couple of them were strolling right there in French Quarter, rolling down Bourbon Street, and facial recognition, thankfully, in New Orleans recognized these guys and caught them, essentially.
I know one was caught in Houston.
Yeah. Two
were caught in Houston. And I laugh because I've got friends out that direction. And I think, and we're going to talk about this, one of the escaped inmates who's still out there and is posting videos and pictures. The joke is, okay, Houston PD, get your stuff together. They're one of the best in the country.
Yeah.
That let's figure out where they are. And they jokingly said, we already caught 2 for them. How many more you want us to keep catching? That's why I chuckled. But
yeah.
It's true.
It is. And they actually went on a pretty major car chase to catch those guys. And what they were finding out and discovering at the beginning was there was a lot of help on the outside. The governor, Jeff Landry, came out and did his press conference. Of course, the police knew these guys are likely going to have some help. They're going to call friends, family. Yeah. And he said, if you're caught, we're not holding back. We're going to charge you to the furthest extent of the law for helping these guys, which I found very interesting. And look, rewards right now, $50,000 for the final 2, information leading to their arrest.
That's a lot.
A lot of people will look at you and say, you're my boy, but for 50 G's, I'm calling the police.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got the governor saying this.
Yeah.
But then when they're getting arrested as an accomplice, and this is one of the reports that we covered.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The guy got out for a $15,000 bond. Remember, you only have to pay 12%. That's just over $1,500.
Right.
So you can say one thing, Governor, but the judges are doing something completely different.
Yeah. Well, and you said it right. At the end of the day, it's up to the judge to set that bond. I don't know what they're actually being charged with, these accomplices, and if that $15,000 is about the max of what you can charge someone. It may be in that position, which means we need stiffer laws for people who are aiding and abetting fugitives. Really, in a lot of cases, making it possible for these guys to escape. Yep. 10 of them, folks. Wrap your mind around that.
And that's what I was going to say. So let's start. We keep almost teasing the viewership, the listeners, that this is what all we're going to talk about. Let's start with the basics. It's May 16th.
Yep.
And around 8 o'clock is when officials learn, hey, we're missing. They initially said 11 inmates.
Right. Could you imagine making that call to the sheriff?
No.
Yeah, me neither. And as soon as that hit the wire, there was maybe it wasn't long between the time they discovered them missing and the sheriff coming out and reporting it. So they were on top of it pretty quick, which is important. Because the public then can be on the lookout, right? Yes. You release pictures of these guys. These are who they are. You need to look for them. So it wasn't something where they could say, okay, how can we spin this so that it doesn't look so bad? Because the more time you delay in letting the public know those guys are out, the more time they have to commit another crime and the more time they have to hide.
And like you already said, these were some pretty armed and, dangerous. And for all we know, they may be armed now. But these are some dangerous men.
All of them.
And they weren't in, like you said, for stealing a dog.
No.
They were in for murder.
And that was another big problem. They were in a lighter security wing. So you had some that one of them was involved it had a conviction for second-degree murder, which likely was a plea deal down to second degree. He was involved in a shooting in the French Quarter that killed somebody. That guy was escaped, and he was in a lighter wing of the prison as far as security is concerned.
And second degree is life behind bars.
Right. And they definitely had some splaining to do on why these guys were in medium and lighter security wings of that prison.
And Jim, I feel like a lot of that conversation hasn't even started yet because the focus is still trying to figure out where these last two inmates are.
Derrick Groves, who is one of the two inmates still missing, he's 28 years old. He was convicted of second-degree murder. He is still on the loose now. He has not been seen since the day of the escape, has not been seen by the public. So wherever he's hiding, he's in a good hiding spot, if you will. No sightings.
But the second guy is not the smartest.
Antoine Massey. And yeah, he can't stay off social media. This guy has actually almost become a meme, a character, if you will. Some people are placing bets as if this was Las Vegas on who's going to get caught first. Is he going to get away with this and never be seen again? The thing that is so intriguing about Massey is that he is a guy that could not blend in anywhere in the world. He has face tattoos. If he was standing in front of you right now, you would know right away that's Antoine Massey. The fact that he is still on the loose is shocking enough because of his identifying features. But what makes it really wild is this is his third escape.
Yeah, third.
He's an escape artist.
He knew what he was doing. And I guess, again, some of these answers are going to come out later. I almost want to know who's the brains behind this. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's him.
It very well could be. And, he was charged with domestic abuse and auto theft. That's what he was in. That's what he was in Orleans Parish Jail for. He had not been convicted yet. But the scary thing here is, assuming he is guilty of those charges, there's someone out there that he domestically abused that,
They're scared.
I feel for him.
Yeah.
Because until he's caught, they're not going to feel safe.
No. And you and I were talking about this beforehand, that the latest pictures show him with the Rockets in Houston. I think that's to throw people off.
Yeah, I don't think he would, if you're an escaped convict and you go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, you're not going to wear a Gatlinburg, Tennessee t-shirt.
No.
But the police know that. I mean, they're smart enough to know. I don't think they're going to say, oh, he's wearing a Houston Rockets shirt. We know right where, because he was in the whole garb. The shorts were Houston Rockets. The cap was Houston Rockets. He's basically saying, come to Houston. So if he's in Houston, wow, that's pretty
For all I guess I don't trust the system. For all we know, it's artificial intelligence.
You're right. It could. That's the scary thing with AI.
Yes.
That is the scary thing with AI. Now, one thing that I can tell you about Massey in particular is the reason it's such a bad idea to post videos and pictures of yourself outside of just,
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
the fact that you're doing it is if you take a picture, there's a way to decipher where that picture was taken just by looking at the picture, just by taking it and loading it in a program. And it'll say this was taken at 3:02 p.m. at, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
But then that's why I'm a lot confused. Why hasn't he been caught yet?
Great question. And look, if you would have told me a month ago before this happened that 10 people, not only 10 people would escape, but 2 would still be on the run, I would say there's no way. And when you ask me why, I would say technology is too good these days. You have license plate readers. You have facial recognition readers. No one can get away for this long.
And then even backgrounds, Jim. I mean, look at all the programs that are out there now. Same thing.
Yeah.
That background, for all we know, is artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
That may not even be him talking.
Yeah.
It may be he uploaded a photo, but it goes right back to it. We have all these internet crimes task force. The attorney general's got multiple task forces, and you would be able to see where he accessed a phone or a computer, unless he's at Billy Bob Joe's house and he's using Billy Bob Joe's cell phone. I don't know.
I'm the same way. And, you know, they had a sighting of him that someone had called in from Natchez, Mississippi. However, they were never able to confirm it was him because when they got there, they couldn't find him. So if he was in that area, he was gone. They swept that area, and the Natchez police said he ain't here anymore if he was. So that was the only sighting of Massey that anyone had. But it really is something that calls into question not only the budgeting concerns you brought up, but also the employee concerns. I mean, how did these counts get missed? This makes a national news, and everybody is on this thing. And what happens? Somebody from Tangipahoa Parish escapes jail.
I thought that was a joke. I really did. When I saw that press release come
Unbelievable.
through, in my head, I'm thinking, you're kidding me right now. Like, wait, what's happening? So, of course, they come in waves of 3. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, where's the next escape happening from?
Yep, and it happened. Tangi had 2 escapes.
They did. They really did. Like, what?
Yeah, and look, the guy that escaped initially from Tangi Parish Jail, this guy had escaped before. As a matter of fact, he escaped the year before from the same prison.
Yes.
How does that happen?
Well, and again, I think it goes back to, Jim, that so many of these systems are struggling when it comes to getting that revenue. And I get that. We, as Louisianians, I think, are sick and tired of being taxed. And when I say that, I can say the we, number one, I live here, but number two, covering it. In our immediate area, recently, any tax that has gone on a ballot, it is getting rejected left and right.
Yeah. Even if they make sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does not matter what it is for. People are sick and tired of being taxed. And I think for so long, Americans understood and said, okay, fine, Breck, you need money. We get it. Okay, school systems, you need money. Fire departments, okay. Now it's like 10%. I mean, East Baton Rouge Parish is one of the highest taxed, 10.5%.
Yeah.
And it is straight up, nope. And I know this because the East Baton Rouge Parish prison, it's deplorable.
Yeah.
It is disgusting. And we constantly got complaints about the ACs not working. And I get it. The inmates in there, and a lot of people might say, are you serious right now? They do have rights. The goal is not to kill them. You are innocent until proven guilty. They still have to have livable conditions in there. And in the heat, when Louisiana hits those summer months, you've got to have air conditioning. So it's those basic things that a sheriff can't even almost supply. And I know it's temporary. The AC went out, whatnot. But think about it. If they had all this money, they wouldn't keep putting Band-Aid on this little bitty problem. You would eventually say, hey, let's go ahead and put this money aside. We're building a new parish prison.
Right.
That's the local East Baton Rouge prison that I can speak about because I know all of that stuff personally.
You've got to be right every time if you're a sheriff. An inmate has nothing to do all day long but sit down and figure out how in the heck am I going to get out of here?
Yep.
You know, that's all they've got to do. When you're a prison system, you have to make sure every day that every count is right. You've got to follow all the rules. You got to make sure that your people are not bringing in cell phones for inmates, bringing in drugs, all the things that you hear about now. This is not just a Louisiana problem. It's a national problem. As a matter of fact, Arkansas just caught Grant Harden, who was a former chief of police and a murderer and a rapist of the worst form in Arkansas. He escaped for 12 days from a maximum security prison in Arkansas. Just got caught about 3 days ago, and this guy was only a mile away from the prison the whole time. Now, it's Arkansas. It's very mountainous there, and he had a lot of places to hide.
Well, as a former police chief, you kind of know what you're doing.
He walked right out the front door. He made himself a uniform and walked right out the front. Someone opened the gate for him to let him out. I mean, you can't make that stuff up, and it's funny, but it's not. It's certainly not funny, but it's mind-blowing, the planning that this guy made to get out. And that's the whole point. That's all these guys got to do 24 hours a day is figure out how to get out.
Yep. And all it takes is, like I was saying earlier, that the brainchild is one person coming to terms and saying, hey, guys, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Now, the odd thing for me is why only 10? How come, if it was happening, how come more didn't want out?
Yeah, well, I'm sure they wanted out, but maybe some of them in there give them a little credit for maybe having some sense and saying, I ain't doing that. They're probably like all of us, thought they'd get caught by the next day. And now you've got 2 years added to a sentence, which I don't think stiff enough for escape, incidentally, but that'll take a lot of law changes. And I do want to mention, so Antoine Massey, we talked about the video he posted. And for people out there that don't realize, in this video, he was imploring help from certain people.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, Kim Kardashian, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, NBA young boy, and Meek Mill. He wanted, he's saying, he's claiming this is, he's completely innocent and all of those sorts of things, and they need to help him. If I was him, I wouldn't wait by my phone for that call from any of these people.
Well, the president had just pardoned NBA YoungBoy.
Yeah.
Which I think the day before?
Yeah, it might have been the day before.
So I don't know if that adds to it.
I'm sure it played a role.
Yeah.
I'm sure it played a role.
I still have a very tough time wrapping my head around the whole video and pictures and...
Yeah, it's not what I would choose to do if I was on the run. I mean, I wouldn't do anything that could link me to anything. I wouldn't want anybody with a cell phone around me because you can track cell phones. But yet, on the loose, he still remains. And, there's a whole nother side to this outside of that just the past couple of days has come out, speaking of budgets, and that's the cost. This is now costing to chase these guys. 200 state policemen right now are specifically employed to find them. They have taken them off everything else and said, you're on the hunt. Not only that, you've got the ATF involved. You've got the FBI involved. All these agencies working to catch these guys specifically. That is not cheap. That's expensive. There's a lot of overtime being paid. Who pays for that?
We do.
We do. If you're caught or when you're caught, you're obviously not going back to the same jail you escaped from. All of 8 of the 10 that have been caught have all went to Angola. Yeah. So that's not where they want. That's not where you want to end up. If you know,
gators on 3 sides and heavy woods on 1.
They're sitting in Angola, so you're right. It is a black eye on the system, and you've basically bitten the bear now. And the bear's saying, "Okay, I'm gonna put you in Angola, where there is no air conditioner. You're gonna be working a field, slinging a hoe for the next, I don't know how many years you have."
Murder was life.
Yeah.
If you're 2nd degree and you're already convicted, you have life in prison. So adding 2 more years, well, it's not really going to do much for us.
That's right.
But like you said, Angola, and for our listeners who don't know this, and Jim would be the best person to talk about this with his other podcast, Bloody Angola, that Angola is on 3 sides.
Surrounded natural barriers.
Snake infested waters.
It's 18,000 acres in size, and some of the roughest terrain you'll find in Louisiana. You're not getting out of Angola. You can get out of the wire, as they call it. You may get out of that razor wire and get beyond that gate, and there's very few who have been able to do that. But unless you have a vehicle, you're not hiking out of there.
No.
The gators will get you, the wolves will get you, the bears, whatever. But it's a prison that is a lot harsher than Orleans Parish Jail. And so those guys, even the ones that were only gone for, there were a few that were caught the next day. Oh,
They're caught.
They're caught, and now they're in Angola, and now they've got 2 years added to their sentence, and you're with the big boys now. You're with the real prisoners now.
Between the cadaver dogs and those, West Feliciana, they are used to it. They know. They have a system in place that when an escape happens, they know where they're going. They know what they're doing. And between those cadaver dogs, you're really not going to stay escaped very, very long.
No, you're not. And as of now, 25 days, as of this recording, that these guys have been on the run, Massey and Groves. That's unbelievable.
That is.
To me.
That is.
Where is Massey? And $50,000 now each on their heads. Somebody has got to turn them in. You can't tell me you've got that many loyal friends.
Seriously.
I mean, they're ride or dies now because for 50 G's, a lot of people would turn you in. Your own family might turn you in for 50,000.
Well, there are two more important things that I want to touch on. Number one, I applaud the Orleans Parish Sheriff for not hiding.
Yeah.
Not trying to put lipstick on this specific pig. And in this case, Jim, which the whole reason is that you can use the media to your benefit. Law enforcement, when you're out there and you have something like this happen, and I get it in today's day and age with social media, but even on social media, law enforcement has the people that follow their pages. Mm-hmm. The mainstream media is like the WWL, the WDSUs. Now it's all national. Those were the local New Orleans stations. They can get it out a lot faster to a lot more people. Let me bring up the other issue when it comes to, I guess you could almost call it a budget issue, but it's kind of like peeling back an onion, Jim, that at the end of the day, people are not wanting to do law enforcement anymore.
Right.
And this is a national problem, a big time problem from the state level to the federal level to the local levels and trickle them down to the small towns. They're all struggling to get people who want to be police officers.
That's right. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. The culture when I grew up in the 80s, if you were trick-or-treating on Halloween, you were a police officer. If you were a police officer or a fireman, I can tell you that as an adult who had kids who trick-or-treated and all those sorts of things, when I would pass out candy in the last 5-6 years, very few police officers. And that told me a lot. The culture has changed. There is no one on the face of this earth more pro-police than me. No one. I have more respect for the good police officers in this country than anyone. The risk that they take for complete strangers, I will never be able to wrap my mind around. The heroism that it takes, the bravery, all those sorts of things. They run to what everybody else runs away from.
And they don't hesitate.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
They don't get paid enough.
They get paid pennies.
Major problem.
Putting your life on the line.
Putting your life on the line every day.
Not even knowing.
And with social media, they get crucified every time you turn around. Oh, God forbid they pull someone over that, the next thing you know, it's something completely different than take out the fact the person was going 100 miles an hour, and they had every right to pull them over. they get crucified for those things. And there's good and bad in every profession. And absolutely, there's bad police officers that don't need to be police officers.
And we've covered them left and right.
100%. But I would say the vast majority are good, hardworking people that are out there risking their life every day so that you and I can just go about our day and not feel like, we're not safe.
If you sit down and talk to the former Baton Rouge Police Chief, Pat Inglade, who was chief during a very tumultuous time for Baton Rouge, during the Derrick Todd Lee serial killer days, he will tell you that, and then prior to him was Greg Ferries as the chief, but they will both tell you that to get into the academy for Baton Rouge PD, it was so long that you would almost pray that you make the list, you make the cutoff. But no, they had an option to choose which officer was the best of the best.
Yeah, they could pick and choose.
Yes. Now, the latest BRPD academy that graduated, take a guess how many people it was.
15.
7.
Wow.
It started with more.
Yeah.
You had some people who just couldn't do it. Their backgrounds didn't pass. You had 1 or 2 that were like, deuces, I'm out. I can't do all of this. 7 graduated. Well, when you only have 7, Jim, at the end of the day, you've got to put those 7 to work. So now translate this to Orleans Parish. It's the sheriff's office. It's the same thing with the deputies there. They're struggling. The jail is almost a spot where you put intro-level deputies or deputies who have been disciplined for possible wrongdoing go to the jail. So then you have people like the maintenance person who was saying that he was threatened and he's fearing for his life, so he turned off the water.
Yeah.
And I guess that was a long version, which is why we have a podcast, that to peeling back the onion, that it's not just a simple answer as to what really went wrong here.
Right. Yeah, there is no simple answer, but I think as a society, and especially locally as Louisianians here, we really need to look into the issue of hiring police officers and getting good qualified candidates. Used to be a lot of pride if you were a detective in a police organization and you're out there and you're hunting for truth, right? Now these people with the brain power and capacity to do that are choosing to be dentists or doctors or a million other professions, because I feel like for far too long, not only monetarily have police officers not been compensated, but also the culture has just become where it's almost, you're bad. If you're a police officer, you're a bad person.
Well, and I would add to that I think there are men and women out there who still say, we'll do it. We love it. My dad did it. My grandfather did it. It's in the family. My uncles, everybody's police. This is all I want to do. It's not even the money that's going to stop them. What's going to stop them is, like you said, when that chase happens, the suspect's going 100 miles an hour. He crashes out. He gets out. He raises an AR-15 and tries to shoot at a police officer. Officer returns fire, kills him. Who's the bad guy?
Well, the guy that tried to shoot the police officer.
No, the officer is. The officer killed a person.
Yeah, that's the mentality.
That's the perception going on right now. Any human being, if you have a gun in your hands and someone's shooting you, what are you going to do?
Yeah. That's
so
right.
I know it's a long conversation here, but hey, that's what podcasting is.
It's a worthwhile conversation.
It is a worthwhile conversation.
It's the podcasts are all about giving someone the opportunity to think about that situation. And hopefully there's some listeners to this that are seeing that side of things, because there's a lot of things that need to be tightened up, especially with our correctional system. Obviously, it's not a Louisiana problem. It's a national problem. It happens in every state, maybe not to this amount. I mean, I got to say, 10 might be the record. I don't know. I know in Louisiana it is.
That. Yeah.
In Louisiana, as far as anybody's been able to find, that is the largest escape in the history of Louisiana prisons.
That's worthy of a black eye, Jim.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly is. And heads rolling and all those sorts of things definitely is. And, like I said, maybe all we can hope for is some good to come out of this with maybe they'll shore up that jail now and really look into the mistakes and fix them. That's what we hope.
Yeah. And I hope these next two people, these other two people are caught.
Soon.
Because, don't laugh at me when I say this, but I remember watching a documentary on Alcatraz and the three guys who escaped. And I cannot remember the name of this documentary, but the way they pretty much brought to life how these people got out. And it was just a few hours of a heads up. I'm sorry, it was just a few hours where they were able to escape and nobody realized it. A few, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was the Anglin brothers.
Yes.
And Clint Eastwood.
But that made the
or whoever he played.
Yeah. But that made the biggest difference. I want to say it was like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Pay cash.
You're not on a rock
You're
surrounded by water either.
No.
Like on Alcatraz. I mean, you can get a long way.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is. And they're supposed to do those counts like every hour. I mean, this is common practice in just about every prison.
Mistakes were made, and that's what I'm saying, that I think a lot more is going to come out here, but the focus right now, I would assume, is we need to get these other two back. That would be the top focus. Of course, I'm sure they're already tightening up inside that, hey, you better make sure you're counting on the hour. Has that come out to the media? Has the sheriff made that very, very clear to the media? No, and that's not her priority right this minute.
That's right. That's right. And look, for all those guys that are in the jail now, and some of them are probably like, yeah, you got out of prison, you beat the system. Oh, they ain't loving them right now because your life just got 20 times harder than it was a month ago.
Yep.
Because now everybody's eyes on you 24 hours a day. Yeah.
And it is worthy of national news because at this point, we don't know where they are.
Right. And they could be anywhere.
Yeah.
They could be all the way in California by now. They already caught several in Texas. So, I mean, they were across state lines. And once you break out of the state, you've got a lot better chance of getting away with it because the press just isn't, even though it's a national story, it's not covered as heavy in Arkansas as it is in Louisiana.
Yep. It's on the national news.
Right.
It's not on the local Fayetteville
correct
CBS station.
Exactly.
That you can go sit at a diner and you have no idea who the person is next to you. I mean, you know who lives in your small town, but I mean to say if there is a stranger, you may not recognize, hey, wait, this is an escaped inmate.
Yeah, that's right. That's the shocking thing to me about Massey, because if you see his picture one time, he just stands out to you. Anywhere in the country, you're going to notice a guy with that many tats on his face. You're going to notice it. It's going to stand out. And he's been slick so far.
Wow. Well, Jim, did we kind of cover everything?
I think we did.
Thank you so much for joining us. And if you haven't already, guys, go listen. Jim is a podcast king. From Bloody Angola to Local Leaders, which is a big podcast that's done mainly locally to focus on some of the local businesses and leaders. Right. And then obviously the one that's just taken off is Exposed.
Yeah. Give you maybe a little bit of the tea on some of these rich and famous in our country.
So go take a listen to those. And to our listeners, we thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Louisiana Unfiltered, and we will see you next week.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.